Greetings, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of the Friday Post Flight. Today's special guest is, well, he's very special. We call him Mr. Kadish, and he really does know his stuff here and there. And he is, I think, he's introduced sometimes as the bane of directors. I'm not sure what that means or why, but welcome to my good friend, Mr. Matt Kadish. How are you today?
I'm good. I feel like I need to have a glass of wine with me on this Lifetime original series that we're doing here, one-on-one.
That's what.
I think it's a recent thing being called the bane of directors. I don't really know why. The only director I ever had a spat with was James Mangold, and I was proven right about his movie. So I guess that's where that originated from.
I think you were proven right multiple times, Matt. Let's be fair.
I don't want to brag too much.
Yeah, well, Harrison's going to get hurt. He's old. He's going to look bad.
Yeah, all my predictions about Lucasfilm have been pretty accurate over the
I've been really
decades.
close. It's right. Well, a lot of people are familiar with you. But we do want to kind of introduce you. You actually have a website now. I was made aware of. So you want to talk about what you guys do?
I have multiple websites. Which one are you referring to?
Oh, saltynerdpodcast.com.
Oh, well, so our
saltynerdlive.com. Sorry.
Our official website is saltynerd.com, and you can find all of our episodes and stuff on there. But if you want to go to our YouTube channel, it's saltynerdvideo.com. That takes you right to our YouTube channel. saltynerdpodcast.com takes you to either Spotify or Apple iTunes, where you can check out our audio-only version of the shows that we do. And if you ever want to know when we're doing our live streams, saltynerdlive.com is where you got to go. So we basically got a domain name for everything that people could want to know about us. Just makes it easier.
That's right, and you do great. You do great content, and I occasionally get to hang out with you guys, so I always feel privileged to do that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we always love having you on the Saturday morning live streams and in studio and all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, you'll get me in studio a little more often, it seems, if things work out the way I'm hoping. But we've got a lot of folks joining us today. I'm just highlighting some folks that are joining us, like Penny and others. So thanks for being here.
Penny.
Yeah,
Danny's mom.
Penny is a huge supporter. Darren, my wrench, my dependable wrench. I have a lot of wrenches, but Darren's here a lot. Normally Eric K would be here, but he's working on Nerdrotics Friday night tight streams at the moment. So they're getting ready to wind down, I believe. But the Dig Outlaws in the house. We got a couple others like Mad Capper, but I'm highlighting a few people as we go. There's Cocho, but Hollywood Horror Nights. Oh, I can't wait to go to that. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, that's a good question. This is something we can talk about during the show, but before we get started, they're going to do a permanent installation of Universal's Hollywood Horror Nights, right, in Vegas.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah. So have you ever been to one of those events at the Universal locations?
Not really. I know that Circus every October used to have like their like haunted houses, where they basically turned like their entire arcade and stuff like that into like haunted house experiences, and those were really fun. That went away after COVID hit, but am I allowed to say that on YouTube anymore?
Yeah, no,
yeah. Remember.
Well, no, that's not one of the banned words. You gave me the banned words.
Well, it's a demonetized word. I think anything, whenever you mention something even remotely controversial, it's like it's not advertiser friendly, so you can't make any money off this.
Well, in the history of events, I think you're safe to say that word. So.
Okay, I'll just refer to it as the coof from now on.
Okay, Mr. Jeremy of the Quartering. Fair enough. All right. Well, we actually managed to get the stream up on Rumble, so yay us! And
yay, hello Rumble.
Hey, and Twitter. Hi, Twitter.
I really wish that. Well, it's not Twitter anymore. It's Twix, X, the everything app.
Twix.
I really wish Rumble would get their act together, though. They make it so difficult to live stream over there.
It's hard. If they could just give us a permanent stream key and ingest, it would be the best, right?
I know. I mean that's like live streaming 101. Why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand.
I don't know either. But we've got a lot of great folks joining us this evening, and I don't know. This is kind of the most informal interview you've ever had with not normal questions. So I think we'll get right into it and start with 3 questions. All right, and real quick, just a bit of a preface. Matt already has the questions. All of the guests have them. And there's a reason for that because I want them to be prepared and I don't want anybody to feel like they're being put under the gun. And at the same time, I want them to be thoughtful answers because sometimes when somebody springs something on you, it's not necessarily what you actually feel, it's just what popped in your mind. So, the most important question is probably the last one. So, we're going to start with the least important question first, which is going to be odd. What is your favorite TV show of all time?
So I have a very curated list of what I consider to be the ultimate perfect TV shows. So I can't narrow it down to just one. There's actually 4. Okay. First one is The Wire. HBO's The Wire. One of the best cops and robbers TV shows of all time. If you sit down and you watch all 5 seasons back to back, it's like you've just read an incredibly well-written novel. It's fantastic. Stuff that happens in the 5th season was set up and paid off in the 1st season. It's absolutely brilliant. The second one is Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Love Breaking Bad. Again, another series that you can watch from the first episode to the last episode and feel like you've gotten a complete story that's well told. Everything that was set up is paid off in the final season. It's great. Cobra Kai is the third one. I've really been enjoying Cobra Kai, and I feel like the writers of that show are very much aware of what they're doing, and again, it's very good. And the 4th show is kind of a dark horse. I'm not sure many people have heard of it, but it's called Warrior, and it's an HBO Max original series. It's based on the writings of Bruce Lee, and it's a kung fu crime drama set in the early 19th century San Francisco. And it is fantastic. It's got some of the best action you'll ever see on TV, but it's also got a very engaging, kind of like twisty, turny storyline to it. So those are the 4 best TV shows, in my opinion, and they're 4 of my all-time favorites. I can sit down and watch those things like back to back. They're great.
I can't argue with your list, and it's very well curated. And I would say the reason that the Wire feels the way it does is because they have people that authentically were writers and authentically lived in Baltimore, so they understood the world they were writing about very well. So
yeah, Dave Simon, I don't like all of his stuff, but for whatever reason, The Wire was just so brilliant, and it was very consistently brilliant. But it's interesting because if you watch the first season, it's not until episode 7 hits where things click on that show. Like I can remember I was watching it when it first aired week to week. It's a very slow show. It's a slow burn. And the entire time I'm watching, I'm just like, why am I watching this? This is so boring. I don't care about any of the characters. It's slow. But then something happens in the 7th episode where it takes all the boring stuff that you just watched and brings it all together. And you realize, oh, that was preparation for this moment. And then from that episode onward with the series, you know who all the characters are, you know what their motivation is, you know the scenario in which they find themselves in, and you got all the information you needed so that they don't have to stop and set all that stuff up again, going in from season to season. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and Breaking Bad. So this Breaking Bad established a rule for my television viewing, and tell me if you think this is a good one. Although you just kind of broke that rule by saying you had to wait till episode 7 to feel like the thing kicked off. But my rule has always been, you get 3 episodes. If you can't hook me in 3 episodes, I'm done.
No, that's a good rule. I usually expand that out to 5. For me personally, it's like you get 5 episodes. I can remember like in the Wire's case. Like it was early days in like the must-see TV kind of campaign of HBO, and it was the only thing on Sunday nights, right? So like I would just sit there and just watch it. Same thing with Deadwood. Deadwood was
wow.
I feel like Deadwood is a decent show, but it was one of those shows where like David Milch's dialogue was so thick that I had to watch it three times. I had to watch each episode 3 times in order to just understand what all the characters were saying to each other. So that was a bit of a chore. But at the time that The Wire season 1 came out, HBO was kind of bucking the trends, bucking the rules. They were doing things a little bit differently, and so I was willing to kind of see where things were going. But it's kind of funny because that actually has translated over to a show like Andor, for instance. Like a lot of people criticize Andor for being slow as molasses and boring, but I found Andor fascinating. Like I really liked the deliberate pace of it, and I guess I'm just more forgiving of like a slower paced story, especially in the binge model. Like if you're doing week to week, a slow paced story can be hard, but if you're able to binge an entire season and kind of like see everything in one sitting, that helps a little bit.
Real quick comment on Ahsoka, which I promise you we're not really going to talk about unless Matt wants to. But episode 3 of Ahsoka, it got me into the show because I hadn't watched the first 2 episodes, and then I watched a clip of Lorena's watch party on Twitter, and in those 13 seconds, I was hooked because I didn't realize they were making a comedy. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I watched a clip live on the 6 Minute Daily a couple days ago and died laughing. I mean, literally couldn't stop.
Episode 3 of Ahsoka was a tough pill for me to swallow because I really want to like the show, and there are certain elements to it that I do like, but it's marred in such bad decision making and unself-awareness that it's always this kind of like back and forth thing where it's like, yeah, there are good elements to it, but they're overshadowed by the dumb/bad elements. And so it makes it hard to enjoy the show for me. But like, I still feel like Ahsoka, more than any other Star Wars TV show that we've gotten, emulates George Lucas's style of filmmaking. And that's strictly because Dave Filoni is basically just pretending to be George Lucas for this one. But because of that, it feels like the most authentic version of Star Wars that we've gotten on TV so far.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly kind of like battling in my head. It's like, do I like this show? Do I not like this show? One thing I can say for certain, though, is that it's better than Kenobi so far. So,
yeah. Well, I'm not sure that's a step up. Yeah, I did not like a Ahsoka pajama spacesuit thing. That was not doing it for me. Man, it's like terry cloth spacesuit. Way to go. All right. Anyway.
Also like how her helmet was specifically tailored to her little tails, little head tails.
It's a bespoke spacesuit. No, that's
custom designed.
It's not the world of Star Wars. All right, well done on the first question. Let's jump into the second one. This one's important. This one's important. The third one's more important, and I can explain why when we get there. But the second question here: what film is your go-to when you're homesick? What's your comfort movie? What's the film that you could put in and rewatch and you go to sleep to, you wake up to? What film is that?
So in my curmudgeonly old age, I don't have one of those actually. Like when I'm sick, I want to watch something that I haven't seen before. And I typically want to watch TV shows over movies simply because if I'm sick, I'm going to be laid up for a couple of days. So I want something that's going to kind of carry me out through the sickness. But I can tell you that when I was younger, the movie that I watched the most and that I would go to over and over again was Star Wars: A New Hope. And a lot of that stemmed from the fact that when I was very young, my family was stationed in Germany. My dad was in the Air Force, so we were out in Germany. And the only English language stuff we got was on these VHS tapes that, family and friends in the United States would send us. And we had one VHS copy of Star Wars: A New Hope. And I must have watched that thing millions of times. And when we got back to the States, I realized, or I discovered that there were 2 more. And I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. And so I watched those as well. But when I was growing up, basically the one movie that I would just put on because, it comforted me was the original Star Wars movie. But, now that I'm older, I don't really watch stuff that I've seen before too often. Like maybe I'll do it for the podcast or whatever. But for the most part, if I'm sick and I'm laid up, I want something that I haven't seen before. Now, my fiance, Jude, is the exact opposite. She can watch something a million times, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She'll watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer like 1,000,001 times, at least once a year, right? For me, I'm like, I've already seen all this. I know what happens. I want something new. I want something stimulating. So to make a short answer long, that basically like I just like watching new TV shows when I'm sick and laid up in bed.
Fair enough. I understand. And everybody, this is the other great thing that chat gets to give me their answers, and sometimes they change. I mean, Rodney G's like Citizen Kane. I love Citizen Kane, but again, depends on if you had to go and take all those classes for film. But
well, you know what's funny is that very recently, like within the last couple of years, if I'm just bored and I want something playing, or like I'm like sick and can't really kind of scroll through and find stuff to watch, I just turn on YouTube and I see like what content creators are making and like have that stuff playing, all the YouTube podcasting, all the live streams, all that good stuff. So I've become more of like a YouTuber than, yes, Empire Strikes Back. I can remember the first time I watched that, I was blown away. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's funny, a lot of military brats. You guys are, yeah. But oh man, there were so many. You made some great points, but I can understand stepping away from film and going to watch YouTube when you don't feel good. I think I'm guilty of that. I will binge like one subject, right? It's not even in our wheelhouse. Like lately, I've been like binging like just crazy like setups for stuff I'll never have, electronic setups, and just to like watched a guy build like an audio tower. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. But
well, you want to know, like, in terms of like comfort viewing, what me and Jude kind of go to when we can't decide what to watch, or like there's nothing new out, or like whatever. We always go, and this is so stupid, we always go to Netflix and we watch The Great British Baking Show. That is one of the most comforting, wholesome, like, turn your brain off and just enjoy it TV shows ever. It's got a competition aspect to it, but it's not like ruthless competition. It's not like people are betraying one another or something like that. So like it's a feel good show, and like you're watching people make incredible dishes, and they got some like funny hosts on there and stuff like that, and it's family friendly, so we can have it on when the kids around. And it's just like one of those things where like me and Jude will just sit there and watch it, and we'll just like enjoy being in the Great British Baking Show. So that's one of our comfort shows.
JT's here.
Yes, hi JT, good to see you.
All right, let's man, you're just full of great answers, Matt. This is going to be a long interview. We'll get moving here. We got the third question. I think it's the most important one, because it's broader than the subject than the film itself. What was your best cinematic experience? What was your best film experience? Was it in a theater? Was it at a drive-in? I mean, there were still those when I was young. I don't know. You're a younger man. Perhaps you didn't get the drive-in experience. But...
I've been to a few drive-ins, but in thinking about my answer for this question, there are actually two film experiences that I wanted to share. The first was enjoyable because of the audience that I was with, and the second was a personal experience. So the first one was when the original Scream movie came out in theaters, and I was kind of like in my I believe I was in my senior year of high school, and I was kind of getting ready to go to film school and stuff like that. So I was like super into horror movies because I was studying them and looking at low budget filmmaking techniques and Wes Craven and how he builds tension and all this other stuff. And so when Scream came out, I was like really excited for it. And so I went to a matinee the first day that it came out and watched it. And I was blown away by how good it was. Like, it was a mystery. It was a horror movie. It had twists and turns. The ending was like, it came out of nowhere. It was great. And so after I got out of that theater, I was like, man, because like no one was in the theater. It was like me and maybe like 2 other people. I was like, man, I really want to see that in a crowded theater. I want to know like what other people, how they react to it. And so I went back that very night. It was a Friday night at a like it was either an 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. show, something like that. Packed theater, packed. And the audience reactions to that movie were incredible. Like I'd never been in a theater where the reactions were so visceral before, because it was literally sold out. And you had tons of college girls in there and high school girls and stuff like that who were just overreacting to the extreme, because every time like there was a jump scare, like whatever, or those wonderful Wes Craven buildups where it's like the killer's somewhere and you're just like, oh, look out behind you. So that was probably in my mind one of the funniest or funnest theater experiences because of the audience. A kind of close runner up to that is when I first saw the Phantom Menace in the theaters, and it was a pretty boring experience up until the end, because you had a lot of people there who were cosplaying as like Darth Maul and stuff like that. And then when Darth Maul gets cut in half, you just heard like a collective no, like from the crowd. They were so pissed off that he got killed off. But for my own personal like theater going experience, it was when I went and saw the very first Matrix movie. And it was kind of an interesting experience because ideally for a Matrix film, you'd want to go and see it on like a big screen and like a really nice theater. I was in film school at the time, and the only movie theater that was playing it was this rinky-dink college theater. We called it the big screen TV because the movie screen was not big at all. It was about the size of a big screen TV. So like I went and saw it in that theater, and just seeing it for the first time on opening night, how revolutionary the filmmaking in that film was. As a young film student, I was just in complete awe at what I was seeing. And so like that was the big theater going experience that stands out in my mind as having personally affected me the most. And then the one for Scream was how enjoyable the audience experience was.
That's amazing. Have you found any films recently that have moved you or kind of changed your perspective or have wowed you because of maybe the cinematography or shots that are being like experimented with? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of changes in how things are being shot. You're seeing more drones and stuff like that being utilized. You're seeing that really strange shot in John Wick 4 from overhead, where it's just this one continuous labyrinthian,
Well,
thing.
it's kind of funny because that shot, the Wachowskis actually did a very similar shot to that in their first film with not Gina Davis, Jennifer Tilly and Christopher Malozzi and Jennifer Gershon. I think it was called Bound, but they had a very similar shot to that in that movie. So like there were lots of examples of that. In fact, I believe Scorsese did it in a Taxi Driver as well at the very end there, where they just built sets and they would have the camera overhead and they would just like go over top like that. But in my opinion, ever since the digital age has kind of come into cinema, where you have computers that can literally just make any visual you want, I'm far less interested in the visuals of a film or TV show now than I am with the content of the film, like the actual like story of the narrative that we're watching, because it's so easy just to make pretty pictures on screen. And I think one of my biggest kind of pet peeves is when people get so caught up in the visuals of something that they overlook the glaringly bad like narrative choices. A good example of this, in my opinion, is Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is a beautiful movie. It's got amazing visuals. It's got robots fighting monsters. But if you really sit down and like look at the story that's being told, it is stupid as hell. It is insultingly dumb. So to me, as I've gotten older and I think as Hollywood has progressed, I've kind of moved more towards like, okay, what's stuff that can evoke an emotional reaction out of the audience? What's stuff that makes you feel good, that makes you have fun? So like a couple instances of this, the opening of Arrival, the Denis Villeneuve Arrival, the first like 10 minutes of that movie are so emotional to anyone who's ever had a kid, that me and my fiance were ugly crying within like the first 10 minutes of that movie. The ending of Ghostbusters Afterlife, where the ghost Egon shows up and helps his former friends and family fight the evil ghost. The end of Top Gun Maverick, where Maverick and Goose's son have that little exchange on the carrier. Like I didn't cry, but my body reacted like I was crying. I was like, you know, like it was the most bizarre thing. And then Matt Vader was next to me, and he was bawling like a little baby. It was crazy. So like there are moments like that in modern cinema that always stick out, because like when you have that emotional reaction to what you're watching, it just trumps everything else, because you remember those emotions that you experience. Whereas a beautiful Zack Snyder-esque cinematography picture or whatever, like you see it once, you might be in awe of it, but then you see it again, you're just kind of like, I've already seen it. It doesn't stick with you. But those emotions, the movies that are able to pull emotions from you, those are the ones that stick with you. And so I think it's very rare nowadays to find that type of stuff. I just finished watching the first season of a Netflix show last night called Alice in Borderland. Have you ever seen this?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So it is a Japanese TV series based off of a Japanese graphic novel. And the first maybe like one or two episodes are kind of like setting the stage, so it takes a while to get into it. But by the end of that season, like there was so much charged emotion. And Squid Games kind of did the same thing when I watched that as well. So like there are these TV shows out there that can really kind of like pull on your heartstrings and get you to feel things for the characters and all that good stuff. And that's the type of thing that in my old age I kind of look for now, because to me, that's the mark of a well-written story, where you actually care about the characters enough to have an emotional reaction when things happen to them, or when they achieve something. And so to me, that's the mark of a good story, a good filmmaker, a good tale nowadays. It's not so much the visuals anymore, because you can make any visual you want now with computers. It's all about the emotion you feel when you watch it. I think that's one of the problems with modern day Star Wars. It's because I can remember watching The Empire Strikes Back, and when Han is lowered into that that pit, and Leia says I love you, and he says I know. And then like Luke loses to Vader, and he like, you know, gets his hand chopped off and stuff like it. Like there's so much emotion in Empire Strikes Back that there's a reason why that's considered the classic of the trilogy. I think that's really the movie that made Star Wars the franchise that it became early on. And no Star Wars movie or TV show has even come close to replicating the emotions that fans felt at the end of that movie.
At the end of Empire, I think.
Yeah, like if you watch even like, so like I feel like Andor is like kind of like the top tier of what Star Wars is capable of on TV. Even though a lot of people don't like how slow it is, I think that just from a world building perspective, from like a characterization perspective, that there was so much amazing stuff going on in that show, but it doesn't come close to anything. Actually, the finale came a little bit close when you had Andor's surrogate mother in hologram form giving like a speech to kind of like rouse the people. And also during the prison break scene, there was a lot of emotion there too, especially when Andy Serkis is giving that amazing kind of like speech to rally out the prisoners and get them to rebel. Those are the only two instances of modern Star Wars that I can think even came close to eliciting an emotional reaction from me. Everything else I feel was just kind of like cheap, like Luke being revealed at the end of Mandalorian season 2. That was a great moment for Star Wars. But at the same time, they dropped the ball, right? In season 3, they just like they could have done so much with a young Luke Skywalker and Grogu, but they chose not to, right? So there wasn't any follow through with that. So to me, the big thing that should be focused on in modern cinema is actually connecting with an audience and making them feel the things you want them to feel, as opposed to political messaging or propaganda or just plain old bad storytelling.
Yeah, we've had a lot, our fill of bad storytelling for 100 years now. But let me ask a follow up then. Have you seen the new Equalizer film with Denzel Washington yet?
You know, after the Equalizer 2, I found that movie to be so stupid that I just
Right.
kind of lost interest. So no, I have not seen Equalizer 3. I'll probably catch it when it comes out on video. I'm not going to go see it in the theater. But the Pedro Pascal one was just really, really stupid. So I chose to sit this one out.
Well, I wish I could change your mind.
Is it good?
It's very good.
Okay, cool.
The
I'll watch it when
good. It has everything that you've indicated that you enjoy about something, where you have this build up and the payoff and all of that. And
well, I'll probably catch it when it comes out on streaming.
I think you'll be impressed when you do see it. Then hopefully we get a chance to talk about it. But
I do like Denzel.
Oh, he's the best actor now. I mean, there's not anybody better at the moment, I don't think. And that's an opinion. But we do have a question for you, if you wouldn't mind. Somebody in the audience here, Jin Wong. What's up, my friend from Australia? We get $5 and Aussie bucks. Question for Matt. RE emotional value. How do you feel about the scene with Tony and his daughter being cut from Endgame?
Which scene was that?
I guess there was a scene that they did together. I'm unfamiliar with the reference, so.
Well, I know the whole "I love you" 5,000 thing.
Yeah.
And talk about an emotional payoff, like when Tony Stark dies at the end of Endgame.
Yeah.
Like people literally cried in the theater. You know, like you felt that death, right? Unlike, you know, like if Captain Marvel died, nobody'd give a shit, right? But they did something right with Iron Man, and so like when he passed away, and you saw those moments with like his kid, and you saw how reluctant he was to come back to superheroing and stuff like that. That is a good emotional payoff, I feel, especially considering the fact that he was the one who started the whole MCU thing with his original movie, and so he's been kind of the one carrying the franchise on his shoulders, and it was and phase 1 through 3 really was his story, right? So but I'm not familiar with what was cut from Endgame, so I'm sorry, Mr. Wong. I can't really respond intelligently to that.
Yeah, and I can't either because I'm unfamiliar. But I have to tell you, that was quality answer, because you're right. Honestly, Tony Stark was probably the most beloved character, and they literally killed their baby. Like
but it was an earned death, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it wasn't like I like to say like stunt deaths where Deep Blue Sea, you have Sam Jackson, and just as he's rallying the troops, the shark jumps up and kills him, and it's just like out of the blue, like there's no build up to it, there's no real payoff. You're just like, oh, that happened. And it's like, you know, a one-off shock death. The death of major characters needs to be handled very carefully in order to be pulled off right. And I feel like you know, Tony Stark died saving the universe, and in a microcosm, he died saving the people he loved, including his daughter. So to me, that felt like an earned death. So like, I mean, like if he had just been killed like by Thanos punching him or something like that, and then Captain America went on and saved it, like that was another, like that's an example. Another example of this is the end of Game of Thrones, right? Where Arya Stark kills the Night King and saves the day. It's like that wasn't earned because they spent literally 7 seasons building up the rivalry between Jon Snow and the Night's Watch against the others and the Night King, and it should have been Jon who defeated the Night King. So like you know, there's this weird thing in Hollywood where they feel like, I blame J.J. Abrams for this. They feel like they have to get one up on the audience, like they have to like surprise the audience in order for the audience to like what they're doing. But you can give the audience what they want and have the audience love it because they feel like that's what they wanted, you know, as opposed to shocking the audience and being like, oh, like, you know, how did that happen? I think Benioff and Weiss with Game of Thrones, they got kind of caught up in George R. R. Martin's plot twists, like with the Red Wedding and Ned Stark dying and all that stuff. They felt like the shock of a twist is what audiences like, and that's not really what audiences like. They like being surprised, but they also like being paid off for what's set up beforehand. They like it when their theories are proven correct. Like they don't always have to be wrong. I think one of the biggest issues in modern Hollywood is that most creators, whether they be writers or showrunners or directors or what have you, they don't take into account the audience that they're making the art for. You know, there's a school of mentality where art is a personal thing, and Ryan Johnson was famously quoted about this when he was, you know, doing press for The Last Jedi, where he was like, "Hey, we're not making a Star Wars movie for other people. We're making a Star Wars movie for me." It was Ryan Johnson's Star Wars movie. It was what he wanted to see. It was what he wanted to do, and he's on record many times saying that. But the problem is that when you have a franchise as beloved as Star Wars, you can't make a Star Wars movie just for you. You have to make a Star Wars movie for the Star Wars fans. And that's what Hollywood just completely misses time and time again, like Ghostbusters 2016. They were like, oh, we're going to take a beloved franchise from the 80s, and we're just going to shove a bunch of female actresses in it, and that's going to be the thing. It's like, well, what about all the Ghostbusters fans in there? It's not the fact that it's, you know, that there are women Ghostbusters. It's the fact that you're literally changing the dynamic of what made the original Ghostbusters so fantastic. And then they course corrected with Afterlife, and Afterlife was a fantastic Ghostbusters movie, and I can't wait to see the follow-up to that. So the idea that modern day creators in Hollywood have no idea what their fan base wants or how to give them what they want is a big problem. And just to wrap this up, I'll give you one more example of this. So last night, I started a TV show on Netflix. It's an original series based off of a very beloved manga. It's called One Piece. Okay. And I started watching this show, and this show was fantastic. I'm about 3 episodes in, loving every minute of it. It's a great show. And it was made by the same people who made the live action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. Now, when I watched Cowboy Bebop, it was dog shit. Okay, pardon my French. I was a big fan of the original anime. They screwed it up. I actually read an article from the showrunner of both shows. And he said the big thing that he learned from Cowboy Bebop and its failure was that fans want a faithful adaptation of the material. And I'm like, this shouldn't be a big aha moment. Like this should be inherent knowledge in adaptation, right? But for this guy, he learned that the fans of Cowboy Bebop didn't like the fact that they were taking so much liberties with that show. And so when he went and did One Piece, he stuck very, very close to the source material. And now that it's out, you're seeing tons of fans come in and talking about how great this show is. And they're getting tons of accolades. And let me tell you something, this show is really freaking good. So I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. But yeah, I'm 3 episodes in, and I'm hooked.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you finish it and then find out what you thought of it, because I will have a really hard time if they deviate at the end, you know, subvert your expectations.
Well, we'll see. I'm not very familiar with the manga that it's based on, so I can't really judge it as an adaptation, but I may go and revisit that after I watch the show just so I can compare them. But so far, it's a really good show.
Well, I'm glad. It's hard to find things that we enjoy, and I like to share them, which is why I've been trying to share the Equalizer film. By the way, I went to see the earliest possible showing on Thursday, and the theater that I was in with the person that I go to movies with, that's my normie base person. It's like, this is the normie sitting next to me. That theater was packed. So it's going to be big. So I think it's going to be bigger than they think.
What did you think of the new Mission Impossible?
I thought it was okay. I think that I agree now with what Toxic Man Flu said, which is they wasted all the best stunts in the promotion of the film.
I really liked the movie.
Say again?
I really liked the film.
I thought it was fine, but I think that's the thing that was going against it as far as the broader audience was concerned. I think it sets up the next film perfectly, and it reinforced my my opinion that you have very few actors left that could be considered movie stars because they keep their mouths shut. You have Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington. I mean, you can name them on one hand, maybe. I mean,
I'll tell you this from Tom Cruise. So like I just talked about knowing your audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise is someone who knows who his audience is, and he knows the type of people who show up for his movies. Mm-hmm. And so he gives them what they want, and he does stuff and says stuff that he knows isn't going to piss them off. So do you remember that time where he had his kind of like meltdown on like Oprah, and he was like kind of going crazy? And I feel like he was field testing a way to, new way to gain attention, and it backfired on him spectacularly. So he reined himself in. He was like, okay, I tried that, didn't work. I'm going to go back to tried and true basics.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And one of the reasons, hey, that's a good question, Sonder. did James Man Bun apologize yet and admit you were right?
So he's actually blocked me on X. So I haven't heard anything from him, unfortunately.
Oh man!
But if he ever wants to come on our podcast, we'd be more than happy to talk to him.
I thought you guys would be great friends.
You'd think so, but I guess me calling out the fact that his movie was going to be bad kind of like left a bad taste in his mouth, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hey, Channel Surf. I hope this is a joke, my friend. I really do. I hope this isn't a true tragedy. I hope that was humor. Yeah. I think Mission Impossible got hurt because of marketing itself as part 1 and then going 3 hours. It's like, oh, okay.
And ending on, it's like, it's not a complete story. Dune did the same thing.
It didn't do great in the theater. I mean, financially, it didn't deserve a sequel. Do you think?
Well, the issue with a lot of these movies is that we're coming out of the era where COVID shutdowns heavily affected these things, especially their budgets. These movies cost way more to make simply because of all the COVID restrictions and shutdowns and all that type of thing. So now that we're on the other end of that, hopefully we can get back to a little bit more normalcy. So
Penny
EQ3,
Equalizer 3.
Oh, okay.
Penny says so.
I'm from the school where EQ was EverQuest. So
yes. Oh yeah, Evercrack is what we call it.
Evercrack. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we've had some great comments here, and we had a wonderful super chat question. If you want to ask Matt something, we're going to move on to the next part, which is kind of the adventure part of the show. I like this part, Matt. You might too. I find some really weird news. So I'm going to give you a shot at picking out at least the first story you want to cover. Okay. A 5-foot mullet, a $500,000 lottery winner, a ghost in a ring, AI robots will be your caregivers, or a bull in a car.
So, having grown up in the Midwest, I can't turn down a mullet story. So.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we'll start there. Oh, I'm loving the idea. Give the guest a chance to pick their story, but let's get going. This is weird. This Tennessee woman's 5-foot 8-inch mullet earns a world record.
I don't know. Can that even be considered a mullet? Like that's just long hair at a certain point, right?
It's business in the front and party in the back, man. That's a mullet.
Yeah, but I mean, like so many women, like kind of like it's that weird thing where they like shave the side of their head, and it's like a style. I don't know if that would be considered a mullet technically, but hey, what do I know?
Well, Guinness thought it was, and what they said was, this woman has not cut her hair from the back of her head since 1990.
It makes
Holy
sense.
split ends. But anyway, her name is Tammy Manis, and she said she keeps the front and sides of her hair short, but hasn't cut the back since February 9th, 1990. She said she grew a mullet when she was young, inspired by a girl in Till Tuesday's Voices Carry video, and immediately regretted cutting it off in 89. Wow. So from that point forward, she just kept growing.
I like the fem mullet category. I feel like fem mullets, like mullets on women, aren't really a thing because like it could be considered like a style because women have various different types of like hairstyles. The mullet on dudes is like a very distinctive thing, right? Because like if a guy has a mullet, you know everything you need to know about that guy based off of his hairstyle.
You think so? Because we're going to ask the Chad.
Yeah, I'm calling like if this were a dude who had like a 5-foot mullet, it'd be one thing. Because it's a woman, I'm calling, I'm calling shenanigans on this story.
All right,
I don't.
The poll is up, so we'll see if the crowd is with you, Matt. We'll see if the crowd is with you. I immediately got a bunch of no's. Holy cow! Okay, well, it's just like, oh wait, it's falling back down. We're getting closer to down anyway. It's very strange, but I understand your point of view. I could support that.
No, so like I went to college at Penn State, which is like right in the center of Pennsylvania, kind of like mining country and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I saw mullets aplenty out there. And I came to appreciate what goes into having a mullet and cultivating a mullet and showing people that you have a mullet. And I just feel like it's a much stronger statement when you have a dude who has a mullet. And this isn't sexist in any way. It's just, women have so much varying hairstyles. And there are women out there who would look good with a mullet. There's no man out there that looks good with a mullet except maybe Kurt Russell, and only in the hockey mullet format. So
I think, okay, I'll buy that. He's got great hair. I mean,
he does.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, and that's, it's family. I mean, it's probably a family thing. Although a lot of people like to think that he's the illegitimate son of Walt Disney.
Well, if you look at his like feathered hair mullet type thing in like Big Trouble in Little China era.
That's one of my favorite films.
Yeah. But like Overboard, his mullet.
That was strong.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it was strong.
His mullet game, like no one does a mullet like Kurt Russell does. So.
Look at this, that they're going after him. Joe Dirt had a mullet. I agree with you. Exactly.
But that was fake. That was a wig.
Matt Vader could grow a mullet. That'd be cool.
No, he couldn't.
He couldn't?
Unfortunately, no.
It would be what do you call that? A Gallagher?
A Gallagher. Yeah. Bald on top with like the long hair on the sides and the back.
Yeah.
I think Gallagher is a good one. Maybe a Sean Connery.
Skullet. There it is. That's the term. That's what I was looking for.
Skullet. Yes. Vader could do a skullet probably.
Dude, Vader was so great on my show.
He got naked for you.
He took his top off. Fortunately, he didn't stand up, or else I wouldn't have been on YouTube anymore.
Yes, that's as naked as Vader gets.
All right. Well, it was glorious, but wow. Okay, so wonderful things going on. What's up there, Luke? I see you, buddy. All right, where are we at on this poll? It's not looking good for the bad guys. 65 people in here. We got 35 votes. So at least on YouTube. If you're on Twitter and you pop over on YouTube real quick, you can vote in this poll. And for those of you on Rumble, if you're interested. But I wish there was a way to make all of this unified. I'm working on that. I'm going to talk to this guy after the stream a little more to try to get all those things to work. But 35 votes. All right, guys, we'll leave that poll up for a couple more minutes. We're going to move on. So Matt, lottery, ghost, AI robots being your nursemaids, or a bull in a car.
Well, growing up in Pennsylvania and choosing the mullet, just out of general curiosity, I'm a big fan of hauntings and ghosts, so I'm going to go with the ghost in the ring.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so this comes to us from the Daily Mirror, for whatever that's worth, and here you go, Matt. Woman freaked out after spotting a ghost reflected in fiance's wedding ring.
Where's the ghost?
I don't know. Is that the ghost? On the right there? I don't see here. Yeah, it's not great. But anyway, so apparently the bride-to-be was left feeling freaked out after spotting what appeared to be a ghost in the reflection of her fiance's wedding ring. But after realizing who it looked like, she felt comforted. That's right. So a shocked mom of one was freaked out after believing she'd spotted a ghost of her late great granddad in her fiance's wedding bed, but now believes he was giving them his nod of approval at the choice. It's no surprise that Becky Sorrell had the fright after spotting a figure peering back at her after ordering the wedding ring online. Becky, 27, explained how she sat in silence with her son, Arlo, who is 2, mulling over what she'd seen. She had ordered the ring for her fiance, I guess, online, and they'd been struggling to find one that fitted. When it arrived on July 26th, Becky tried it on and took a photo while standing in the hallway to send to her fiance. Oh, so there was nobody there behind her. That's what freaked her out. Very strange. When she took the photo, she was stunned after spotting a gray figure peering back at her in the wedding ring. They circle it here. I'm not. Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I see it now.
It's the ghost with the most, baby. Anyway, yeah, so then I ask a question. This is the lady, and that's the granddad. Great granddad. You see great granddad?
Yeah. I can see him standing there on the right side.
Okay. Well, fair enough. So then I guess I get to ask you a question, which is going to be fun. You believe in ghosts, Matt?
I do. Oh. I believe in a afterlife, some otherworldly things. When we first got together, Jude dragged me to a medium or a psychic medium who read our past lives. And so I discovered a great deal about my previous lifetimes throughout history, which was quite interesting. But I do feel that there is a spiritual aspect to life and consciousness in general. And I believe that, there is life after death. Quick aside to this is there's a series of movies out on Amazon Prime that I absolutely adore. And it's called the Blackwell Ghost series. Have you ever seen these, Culture?
No, but you've given me all kinds of stuff to go look for on this stream. So thank you for that, Matt.
Yeah, so this thing's kind of a guilty pleasure. It starts off with a documentary. It's called The Blackwell Ghost, and it's about a filmmaker who basically wants to do a documentary on whether or not ghosts are real. And he finds like this haunted house and basically sets up a bunch of cameras there. And it's very similar to Paranormal Activity, except it feels more real. And throughout the course of the series, like it's very obvious that like it's a fictional kind of like take on things. But at the same time, like he plays it very straight, like this is like legit happening, right? Like this is a legit documentary. And by the time you get to the third movie in the series, there's 7 out right now. He switches venues and he starts investigating the victims of a serial killer down in Florida. And it becomes really engrossing as both a mystery and a kind of like supernatural tale. So if anyone out there is a fan of ghosts, I highly recommend these movies because like they're dumb, but in a good way, right? Like you know that like it's not real, but and not a lot happens in them, but like you get to know the filmmaker and I personally just really enjoy them.
You live in Vegas.
I do.
There's some ghost people there.
There are a lot of ghost people here. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever been to Zach Bagan's place?
I haven't had the pleasure of going yet. He has a haunted museum out here, but I've not gone. I do have a friend who is part of like a local ghost hunting troupe, and they go to various places here in town to basically try and catch supernatural activity on film. And there's actually quite a thriving ghost hunter community out here in Las Vegas. So,
can I inform everybody about what tomorrow is?
Sure.
You're having a very special birthday, are you not?
Well, my birthday is on Sunday, and every birthday that I'm still alive is quite special in my opinion.
So. Or I guess technically, yeah, it's 2 days away, but you're actually
but tomorrow is our live stream.
That's right.
My birthday live stream.
Yeah.
Because we have our normal Saturday live stream, and I told Vader, I was like, hey, this is the day before my birthday. Might as well just make it a birthday live stream. So we've invited everyone who's ever appeared on the show and, you know, friends of ours and stuff like that to hop on if they're able to and kind of partake in it.
Well, I'll be there.
Oh, good.
And thank you for the invitation.
No, you're welcome.
Wow. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for that, Matt. Man, we got the ghost out of the way. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Lottery. AI robots are your caretaker, or bull in a car.
Got to go with bull in a car on this one. Can't you can't end in that and be like, well, I don't want to know about the bull in the car. No, okay. We got to know.
All right, so this is a legitimate, honest to goodness story because I've now seen it from 4 different places, and I talked about it last night on a stream, and I went out and found the UPI version of it because then that's legitimate news, right? Because it's authoritative source. So police encounter a modified car with a bull riding in the passenger seat.
Brilliant.
Seriously.
And of course, they have the horns on the front of the car.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, it's a modified police cruiser, which is what's really funny. But anyway, or an interceptor, I should say. But anyway, police in Nebraska detailed an encounter with an unusual vehicle that had been modified to allow for a Watusi bull to ride in the front passenger seat. The Norfolk Police Division said officers responded to a call about the vehicle eastbound on Route 275 with a bovine riding shotgun. The officers received a call referencing the car into town that had a cow in it. Well, that's not a cow. They thought that it was going to be a calf, something small, so they would actually fit inside the vehicle. They were shocked, I say shocked, to discover there was a full bull-grown Watusi bull was riding in the passenger seat of a modified car.
I think that's a typo. That should say full-grown.
Yeah, I know, but I read it verbatim because yeah, it's funnier that way. The officer wrote some warnings. There were some citable issues with the citation. The officer chose to write him a warning and ask him to take the animal back home and leave the city. You want to see the video?
Sure.
All right.
I like that the bull's name is Howdy Doody. Look at the size of the horns on that.
Oh, crap. Thing. There we go. There it is. That's a bull. Oh,
I can see why like he'd modify the car though, because like the size of those horns, I think it'd be hard to find like a trailer to fit that thing in.
Yeah, I mean, and it was entering a contest. Oh, by the way, see how he covered it up? It was Arnold Lice was on the side of the car. But it's the best car entry. So obviously it was for
did you see the shit on the back of the car?
Yeah.
All the literal bullshit.
Right. Wait.
Yeah.
Right there.
Look at that. That's all bull poop.
It is. I'm just trying to figure out what the moving violation is. Maybe okay. So if he put a red flag on the right horn, he's covered, right? Because that's the only thing that's protruding.
I think you could make the argument that the car is unsafe. It doesn't meet certain safety standards.
Well, the driver has a windscreen in front of him, which is the only requirement that you would have on a vehicle.
Yeah, but I think that there are very strict laws governing the transportation of animals. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, like, look at all that. Look at all that bull poop. My goodness.
Well, you don't know how long the ride was. Maybe this is the morning constitutional.
But keep in mind, culture, like that stuff all spilled onto the road as they were driving. So
that's a good question.
Talk about skid marks. Right?
Yeah, indeed. Could they use the carpool lane? I don't know. I think it's supposed to be a human. Yeah, it probably isn't safe for the bull. But to be fair, it looks like the car was well modified. I mean, somebody thought about this for a while.
Maybe.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's a lot of fun. I thought that would be a fun story. Okay, so we're out of the odd news stuff, and we're going to get into some opinion stuff now, which I would love to hear. Price is saying, Kadish.
Price.
It's Mr. Kadish.
Yes, get it right.
Mr. Kadish. That's what I will be addressing you formally tomorrow on your channel as Mr. Kadish.
Yeah, you'll be the only one.
Nuh-uh. It's a thing. It's a thing now. All right, we're going to move on to today's topic. So here we go. Right when I did that, we got this super chat from Hammeroid Hertz for an Australian $2.99. Looks like bed after a carton of beer last night. Whoa, that doesn't sound good.
I thought it said a cartoon of beer.
That's yes, a cartoon, not a carton. Oh, anyway, that's really poopy. All right, let's get to some real news. And today we really kind of only have one thing we can focus on, but there's a lot of stories around it. Are you familiar with what's been happening to the largest media company in the world right now?
I am not aware of what's been going on with X, the Everything app. No.
Oh, no. I'm talking about Disney.
Yes, I realize. Yeah, like I keep my ear to the ground, so I hear all the stuff that all the bad stuff that's going on with Disney.
Do you think that this is a comeuppance? What do you believe? I mean, you have the stock prices below the 9-year mark. It's on its way to a 12-year low. It hasn't been this low since I was younger.
I don't know if I'd call it a comeuppance. I feel like it's just bad management decisions coming home to roost, essentially. It's very obvious that Disney has been horribly mismanaged, and that the culture there cares more about activism than it does about entertainment. And this is just the result of that type of mentality.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. But see, I think they're continuing to double down on those bad decisions. And I think that, the first story that illustrates that, and several people have talked about this, and I talked about it yesterday on the 6 Minute Daily, was this particular decision. If I can get it on this, why is it not working? See, I'm a professional YouTuber. What is going on right now? Matt, I'm terrible. You need a better interviewer. Oh, here we go. This lady named Remy Yamamoto was named VP of Media Relations for Disney Entertainment Television. And that's all well and fine. This is the PR frontman, that's supposed to be able to like deflect from the devil himself. So she took over this gig, right? The problem is she was recently served as the special assistant to President Biden and senior advisor to the White House chief of staff. They have a lot of former high-level White House staffers that work for Disney Entertainment now. So she's going to be the vice president of media relations, and she's going to report to Naomi Ball. I hate this name. I mean, I'm sure the name's fine. I just can't say it. Boloknikov Paul. There. Anyway, EVP publicity and head of communications for. So her new role. Yamamoto is responsible for developing cross-brand messaging and communication strategies that promote Disney Entertainment Television programming executives across ABC, ABC News, ABC-owned television stations. Basically everything that they are. There we go. Basically everything that they are getting ready to sell.
Yep.
Or maybe they're trying to save.
Well, it's all their media divisions, right?
Right.
So what you have here is basically, so we all know that the Democrats and Hollywood are kind of like just an extension of the same thing, right? The Democratic Party. And it's not unusual to see Democrats go to Hollywood after, their jobs are over, or Hollywood people go to DC. In this case, though, so like it's very clear that there are a couple of things going on. So first of all, Bob Iger was long rumored to be running for the Democrat nomination for president of the United States. Obviously, Biden kind of stepped up in 2020 and took that role. And so Bob Iger kind of set that one out. But he has very close ties to the DNC.
Yes.
And this, Remy Yamamoto, obviously she has very close ties to the Biden administration. And it really just comes down to she's been hired to handle the messaging of Disney's entertainment properties. So, AKA the propaganda. And it just so happens that she was hired right before an election season, right? So the real issue here is that her responsibility is to make sure that whatever narrative the DNC wants to push gets propagated throughout all of Disney's media divisions. So they're speaking in one voice, essentially, within the company. And this is just very obviously to bolster, Biden's reelection campaigns, to bolster the other Democrats running for office in 2024. And, it's kind of par for the course. She's a Nepo baby, right? It's kind of like, nepotism.
Yep.
And it's, the timing is not, a coincidence. The fact that Bob Iger is in charge and he's very much in the left-leaning Democrat elitist party. Of course, he hired her. They're fighting Ron DeSantis in Florida right now, so they have a vested interest in defeating Republicans. And so like there's all types of stuff going on here, but it's very clear that Disney is not getting out of the activist business anytime soon. If anything, come next year, we're going to see them double down on their political messaging in all forms, not just across their entertainment divisions. So, but this is par for the course. This isn't surprising to me at all.
I just think it's funny because you just said it. Crisis communications, which they're in full crisis mode in the company, but they also have to be
AKA lying.
This is true. Yes, this is the KGP of Disney. Just look at her that way. And then issued oriented messaging, which is another word for propaganda.
Yep.
Oh, another way of saying that. Oh my goodness, that was fun. All right, well, excellent. But it doesn't stop there. They're bleeding. Disney's been bleeding for a while. I mean, let's peek in on today's stock numbers, because I just double checked to make sure I wasn't logged into my account, which is good. 81.64. Where do you think it'll be tomorrow?
I don't really care. The whole thing about looking at stock price, there's various things that kind of influence stock price, but
indeed,
here's the issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disney is too big to fail with their connections, with their importance in messaging and stuff like that. If they ever get in serious trouble, the government will bail them out, especially if a Democrat's in charge. It'll be just like what happened with Obama and GE, right? But what that means is that when they get bailed out, the government's going to come in and start taking a very heavy hand in Disney's operation. So that's all you really need to know, right? No matter how bad it gets for Disney, no matter how low the stock price goes, they always have that safety net where the government will step in and bail them out with taxpayer funds.
And if the White House flips,
oh, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Which is why they're going to do all that they can to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because they would immediately have to go back to being a for-profit company.
Yep. Can you imagine that? Like a company actually having to do stuff to make money?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's revolutionary.
But see, Disney keeps taking L's, and they took another one today. I was hoping we wouldn't have to talk about Disney the whole time. I promise you, man. I wasn't going to keep it this boring. But you know how Disney's not really friends with the state that they make the most money in anymore?
Yep.
Well, it turns out they took another L there because DeSantis scores over Disney. Mouse House denied effort to make Florida lawsuit about First Amendment violations. Now, notice how the Trade magazine added "for now."
No. Well, what's crazy is so Disney's suing Florida because they lost their sweetheart deal that no other private
Entity
enterprise
had.
has.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't see any legal system, especially in the state of Florida, giving them much credence on that, right? So this doesn't surprise me at all. Like Disney doesn't have really a leg to stand on in this stuff. They effed around and they found out, right? Where basically the government said, hey, if you're going to play politics, we're going to take away all your sweetheart benefits. It's like if Disney had just stuck to their lane, they wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, I mean, look, they had a very well established track record of being a family oriented company that didn't lean one way politically or another, despite the fact they gave money with both hands to each party, because every corporation that wants to, do business does that. But going one way, you got big problems. But it's very interesting because it looks like they have been blocked again in Florida. In the Florida courts battle for the time being. See, this is the trade adding their opinion. This is not news when you add things like that. So a motion by the Mouse House today to amend the April 22 filed complaint against the alleged retaliatory GOP candidate. He's the freaking governor, and various Sunshine State officials to purely constitutionalists was quickly denied by a federal judge. So it wasn't even the state said, suck it. Right?
Yep, it was the feds.
So anyway, obviously Disney's effort to streamline the initial suit to avoid overlapping with contractual elements of a state court case filed by blah, 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 blah. So plaintiff's motion to amend is denied without prejudice. See, that's what the judge said. You have to present something that would make this work. It could have been with prejudice, saying don't ever bring this noise in the house.
Yeah, but because it's without prejudice, that's why they're justified in saying for now.
For now, yeah.
Disney could always come back with it.
I'm telling you right now, the New York-based lawyers in Florida and where this thing is jurisdictionally localized, I don't think they get what they're playing with. So anyway,
well, but also this is the federal version, right?
Right.
Like it's separate from what's going on in the state. So
yeah. Well, and
slightly different rules.
Exactly, but they're also going to get to play with criminal offenses in the state of Florida if everything that's been reported is accurate. So we'll see that happen.
Well, they just need to find some classified documents in DeSantis's garage, then all this will go away.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, Matt. But I do know
you
this.
Never know.
What classified documents do you think that the governor of Florida would have?
Suspiciously ones that they didn't find in Biden's garage,
or in Mar-a-Lago or any place.
Yeah. AKA, they're gonna plant them.
So the hits keep on coming. So on the very beginning of college football season, what does Disney decide to do? They decide to get in a war with Spectrum Charter on their carriage deal. So guess what went dark? Every Disney channel, including ESPN, on Charter Cable Spectrum. Done.
Well, if you're paying for a sports channel that doesn't show the sports you want to watch, chances are you're not going to pay for it for very long.
19 cable networks went black, went dark, whatever you want to call it, from the number 2 service in the United States. And Charter says, and this is the funny thing, Matt. Charter says, this is existential for them. They're willing to walk away from cable distribution right now. They say Disney rejected their proposed new model distribution deal for Spectrum, and they moving on from the traditional video business, now a distinct possibility.
Well, you already saw the NFL do that with signing an exclusive deal for NFL Sunday Ticket with YouTube.
Yep.
Right? Why do these companies need to kind of like bend over backwards for these traditional distribution methods when you could literally either start your own streaming service and collect all the money or partner up with stuff like YouTube?
Well, consider this. If Disney's not distributing to 12 million people these 19 Disney-owned channels, advertisers who bought their advertising at the upfronts for all of these things, especially college football, you don't think they're losing their minds right now?
Well, I'm sure there's some like breach of contract stuff going on there. But I'm not a big sports.
You're not a sports ball guy?
I'm not a sports ball guy, so like I don't really keep track of this stuff too much.
So you're more of a Disney Channel guy.
Yeah. Like I've never been big into sports. I've always been more of a nerd, kind of into movies, TV shows, stuff like that. But I can tell you that from an advertiser's perspective, like if they are basically not able to deliver the advertising to the advertisers, then the advertisers probably don't have to pay for it. So it could be a big loss on Disney's part. You're muted.
Oh, thank you. One final thing, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions because I think it'll be fun.
All right.
Because Dismal Disney Day. Today was like Christmas if you were looking for Dismal Disney stories. And then you have this story coming out. Marvel shows shift premiere dates due to strikes and new Disney Plus strategy, like making good things. Maybe, I don't know, but let's read the story. So similar to how Disney changed up feature release schedule due to strikes, it's doing the same with Marvel series. However, it's a little more than that, as Kevin Feige runs studios looking to make the best product. Goodness gracious, I keep doing that. The best product possible for its fervent fan base. In addition, Disney Plus is making less products, so the studio is basing out its event programming. Loki Season 2 is the only series sticking to its premiere date of October 6th.
Yep, that's because it's been on the schedule and it's been completed for quite some time. What's really interesting about this is that Marvel has placed 3 of its TV shows on hold indefinitely, which is the Daredevil Born Again, the Ironheart, and one other one, I forget which. But basically, the strikes have all shut that down. So they have no idea when those are going to be completed. And therefore, they have no idea when they're going to be able to be delivered. And in terms of Echo, which is the Hawkeye spinoff, the buzz on that one is that it's so bad that they're having to like reshoot it, or they did have to like reshoot it numerous times. But it's also one of those things where they just want to get it out there so they can get it off their plate. So that'll be coming out beginning of next year. I don't think anyone cares about the what if stuff because it's animated. So the only thing we really have to look forward to is Loki Season 2. And they even renamed the Agatha show that they are doing, which nobody asked for and nobody wants. But it went from Agatha Chaos, Coven of Chaos to Agatha Darkhold Diaries, which sounds like a CW show. So you can just tell Marvel has no cohesive plan right now, right? And the fact that the strikes have shut them down should be giving them time to kind of like reorient and replan and re-strategize about what they're doing. But it's just a mess. I mean, like, look at the Blade movie. They announced the Blade movie as like a big linchpin in phase 4 or 5 or something like that. They can't even get a script done. They've been losing directors left and right. It's now kind of like on the fence about whether or not that movie is actually going to happen at all. Something needs to change over at Marvel. I don't know what they're thinking over there, but there's definitely been way too many missteps and bad calls on Marvel's front. They used to be the gold standard for, overarching strategy for a cinematic universe. And after Endgame, it feels like they just completely dropped the ball. Like they have no idea what they're doing. They have no plan. And audiences are getting tired of their BS. And so they're tuning out on this stuff. Now, I happen to really like Loki season 1. So I'm looking forward to Loki season 2. But it's also a big kind of like setup thing for the Kang character. And even that's in doubt because of Jonathan Majors' legal troubles. So nobody knows anything about what's going on in Marvel right now. But if I were them, I'd be taking this opportunity when everything's shut down to kind of figure out a strategy to go forward and actually bring people back into the Marvel universe.
With that being, I did it again. Yeah. With that being said, what are your futures? What do you think the future holds? What are the future prospects of Disney overall in the midst of all of this colossal amounts of failure everywhere? I mean, you're a smart guy. You understand marketing and a whole lot of other stuff that I never paid attention to. Where is Disney at? Where is their future? Is it going to be more bleak? Is it going to get better? Are they going to recover on many of the fronts that they're struggling with right now?
Yeah, I think that there are enough smart people at Disney that know how to keep them in business. In previous, like, Disney is such a big company, like the entertainment division is just like a small fraction of like what they do. Like they have their parks division, they have licensing, they have all types of stuff, merchandising. So until the entire company is in such bad shape that it's all suffering, they're probably just going to keep going along to get along. But they are one of those companies that are too big to fail, right? So like no matter how bad things get, there's always like a golden parachute waiting for them somewhere, offered to them by the government. So I think that basically we as fans look at the entertainment division of Disney and we're very unhappy with what they're doing. But they're number crunchers, they're bean counters and stuff like that. They probably look at it and be like, hey, how else are we going to launder money? So I don't think things are bad enough now where they feel like they need to change what they're doing. And I don't know if it'll ever get bad enough for them to actually kind of like fire all the people that need to be fired and then like build back up in a better fashion. But for now, I think that we aren't going to see much change.
So even if somebody, an activist investor like Nelson Peltz, rides back into their arena and buys up more shares of Disney and then starts leveraging his friends like Teal and a couple of the other guys to, cowboy up and buy in and then go after him for a proxy war. You don't think that is a possibility?
I mean, it's always a possibility. The question just comes down to, so like, you have a board that is very left leaning with Disney and they're very much kind of like a unified front.
Yeah.
So, there would be a fight back against that. I feel I'm always of the belief that worst case scenario is nothing changes. So my instinct is just to say that nothing is ever going to happen with Disney to change it from the way it needs to be changed. So it's just going to slowly get worse over time, but it's never going to be in such dire financial straits that it could possibly cease to exist.
Let me ask you a question. Did you find it surprising that they brought in former Nike executive and forced labor enthusiast to be the chairman of the board at Disney?
No, because he's been on the board for decades. He was the one behind the Forces Female campaign. He's been involved with Disney for like a very long time. So no, I'm not surprised with that at all.
Fair enough. All right. Well, wow. We burned through the topic super fast. You gave wonderful, eloquent answers. My next question is going to be: do you have anything you're looking forward to, either in television or film?
Not really. I'd have to really think about it. I was kind of looking forward to Dune Part 2, but that got pushed back to next year.
Yeah.
There's nothing really out there that has me super excited. The stuff that I've been enjoying lately has been kind of like caught me by surprise. Like Warrior Season 3, super good.
Right.
This new One Piece show, Alice in Borderland on Netflix, really kind of like came out of left field. Like I was like, I'm going to try them. I don't think they're going to be any good. And then I was blown away by them. My biggest thing that I'm probably the most excited for is the big content drought of 2024. Because what's going to happen is these strikes, if they're not resolved before next year, what's going to happen is we're going to see a big period in 2024 where there are no new releases, whether they be movies or TV shows. Right. And so people are going to be hungry for content, which means that they're going to be coming to YouTube and discovering channels like ours and podcasts like ours and stuff like that. So that's what I'm most excited for, is the ability to create content that's going to attract people to the YouTube sphere, you know? So I think that's going to be the big thing going forward. But in terms of what excites me personally, like there's nothing in the pipeline that I see that is even close to kind of like getting me excited.
Yeah, fair enough. I would have thought you'd be all over this Hunger Games prequel, but I guess.
I mean, I liked the books a lot, and the movies were okay in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to the prequel, but I hate prequels in general because you already kind of know what happens. So I'm just kind of like ambivalent towards it. I'll probably wait until it comes out in streaming. I won't even see it in the theater. The only thing I'm planning on seeing in the theater for the rest of the year is probably Aquaman.
Or are you going to see? You're not going to go see Nun 2 or the new Exorcist film?
I'll probably wait for those to come out on streaming.
That's fair. That's fair. We missed one from Jin Wong from earlier, an Australian $2 saying money for birthday cake with stripper in it. It's going to take more than $2 probably. I'm just saying.
Well, Australian dollars, it's like $2,000 here in the States. So.
Oh wow. Okay, fair enough. And then let's see. We got Eric Winberg dropped a $5. Thanks, bro. Says, where's the manager? I ordered a basement special rye on ice 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Well, hopefully Darren took care of you. Anyway, what else do we got? Let's see. So you're not looking forward to any films, and you are watching Warrior, and you're just not hyped about a lot else. I'm hyped about something. Tomorrow is your birthday stream, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's always looking forward to.
And
getting a year older.
I'm looking forward to your show, man. I'm looking forward to your show. I always, even if I'm not there, I'm still watching.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Be a good time.
Hopefully, people actually tune in. Maybe drop some super chat so I can afford to get myself a nice little present.
I think you deserve a nice little present. You deserve a nice little.
It'd be nice. You know, you hit a certain age and like you just don't care about birthdays anymore.
Well, I'm more aged than you, so I understand. Except I still like my birthday. I'm weird.
Yeah, but you got better hair than me, so
stop it. Stop it. Oh my gosh. What do you guys have coming up other than the big show? I know you guys are movers and shakers in Vegas. You got stuff going on.
We do have stuff going on. So today we dropped my birthday review episode. Basically every member of the Salty Nerd podcast gets to choose a movie to review for their birthday. And mine was the Hong Kong action cinema classic Hard Boiled from John Woo starring Chow Yun-fat. And that dropped this morning. So I'm very excited to get that out there. And next week, we are starting our celebration of what we're calling Schwarzlohn-Gall Timber, which is September, where we celebrate Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Steven Seagal. So we're going to be reviewing a movie from each of those actors. Next week, we got Conan the Destroyer, which will be dropping. Then we got Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone the week after that. And I forget which Steven Seagal movie we're doing, but it's one of his earlier ones, back when he still had a ponytail. So that should be rounding out our September movie picks. And we're also reviewing the Apple TV show Invasion. So we did the first season of that 2 years ago when it first dropped. And every Thursday, we're reviewing the new episodes that come out. And this is one of the worst TV shows ever made. It's painful to watch. And Vader doesn't produce the show, so he has no idea what's going on. So suck it, Vader. And yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on. Then we got our live streams on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and those should be good. We got quite a guest lineup on Saturdays coming up. We've got Andy Signor and Stuttering Craig and X-Wing and a YouTube creator named Hypnotic. They're all going to be guesting on our Saturday.
Yeah, Hypnotic blew up. He's doing pretty good.
Yep, he's doing really good.
Yeah, we're watching him for a while. Yeah, and Eric Winberg appreciates the live fact checking that Vader's.
Vader's not fact checking it. He's just making shit up. So
okay, all right.
Fake news. It's fake news.
Yeah, you guys are. It's super fun. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. I promise you an hour and a half to 2 hours. We're going to get under here just under the wire, but we got a couple things to wrap up real quick. This is called Plug Yourself. So this is your elevator.
I like that downturn at the end there.
Well.
Yeah, I've been plugging myself the entire show, so I don't know quite what to do here. But if you're someone who loves movies and TV shows and you love laughing and you like making fun of movies and TV shows, then I'd highly recommend checking out the Salty Nerd podcast. I am not the host, I am the producer. So if you think I'm boring and dry, don't worry about it. We got plenty of very entertaining co-hosts on the show. Yeah, we drop content pretty regularly. Our main shows come out on Thursdays and Fridays. We're on the audio only end of things as well as YouTube. So like if you guys like to listen to Spotify or Apple Podcast or what have you, we're definitely over there. But you can also find our wonderful videos over here on YouTube. And we do highly edited stuff. So we have a lot of contextual clips. So even if you haven't seen the movie or TV show that we're talking about, you get the gist of what we're talking about just by watching it. And we have a lot of fun. We love to laugh. A lot of the guys get drunk while we're doing these reviews and they get even funnier. And in our members area, we actually have some of the stuff that YouTube will probably cancel us for if we put out publicly. So, and we also have our Patreon, which has even more stuff. Like we did a series where we did live commentary for Star Trek, the original series. So if you're a big Star Trek fan, we've got live commentary over there. That was a lot of fun. And we can't put that stuff on YouTube without getting copy struck to high hell. So over on saltynerdclub.com takes you right to our Patreon page. Salty Nerd Video takes you to our YouTube channel. So if you want to hop over there and subscribe and maybe even become a member, I'd really appreciate that support. And saltynerdpodcast.com takes you to the audio only end of things. And saltynerdlive.com shows you all of our upcoming live streams. So if you ever want to know when we're going live next, just type in saltynerdlive.com. You'll see our next scheduled live stream. But we live stream every Tuesday and Saturday. So if you guys are around, I'd love to have you in the chat, interacting with us and having a good time.
And he's not lying. It is a good time. And if you ever get a chance to hang out with these guys at a meetup or whatever, you really should. Real quickly, I want to say thanks to Lester San Jose of the Skeptic Tank. He's been a member for a month and he gifted 5 Culture Casino memberships. That's very generous, my friend.
That is generous. Very nice.
Yeah, you guys are incredible. I appreciate everybody here in the audience and those of you who make content. Keep up the grind. It does pay off. Ask this guy right here. And yeah, on that note, we're going to wrap the show. I want to say thanks to everybody that was here. We're going to play an outro and some credits from some amazing members, and then we're done. So everybody, I hope you have an incredible holiday weekend. I know here in the States, a lot of us have a holiday. I don't personally, but I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you in other places. And go to his birthday stream. Oh, and by the way, you'll be automatically redirected from today's show over to Ascendant Art, where you can hang out with, some very funny people. And on that, thank you very much, Matt. I really appreciate it. Mr. Kadish, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Press your button and be seated. This time we're landing in about 1 minute. Thank you.